But you a black man like me. That's right. And it's worth something.
This is Blackwatch with Commanding General Yahanna, the only man to lead blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans.
God made man on this earth. The white man he made man. God made man. God wants man to obey him.
Bringing you real news.
We don't need a black man in the White House. We need a black man in every black house.
For many years, there's a lot of black people who didn't realize how deep the racism of white America was.
You ain't gonna do nothing unless you decide where you gonna stand at with the Most High.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Righteous solutions to issues plaguing our nation.
Boy, you better wake up and see the power that is within blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians.
Join us every Monday from 9 to 11 p.m. Blackwatch. Let the show begin.
What's going on, fam? Commanding General Yahanna here, man. Had to jump in with you on this one. Haiti. Haiti is in hell right now. Just assassinated one of their prominent leaders, man. I'm going to give you a little bit of the report, and then we're going to jump into it because it's not a great mystery. The mystery is trying to take sides, Haitian against Haitian. That's the witchcraft. What you got to see past is what is really going on, what is the bigger picture. And let me say this, as horrible as these things are, understand and know that these things bring us much closer to where we need to be so that we can, you know, bring the world under Yahweh like it's supposed to. Check it out.
Haitian President Jovenel Moise was assassinated at his private residence overnight. The interim prime minister is now in charge of the Caribbean country. CTV's Akshay Tannen is standing by with more. Akshay, what are we hearing from the interim prime minister?
Hi, Bev. So we know that the interim prime minister held a press conference there, and he's actually urging the UN now, the UN Security Council, to look into the matters of what's happening within Haiti. And he's also urging for an international investigation into the assassination of President Moise. Now, we know that President Moise was attacked. He was shot dead at his residence overnight by unidentified attackers.
This morning at 1 a.m., a group of people attacked the residence of the president of Haiti, Jovenel Moise. During this attack, the president was killed. His wife is in a critical condition right now in a hospital. According to the prime minister, at 1 a.m., this group of people entered by force in the residence of the president. And during this action, these people were speaking Spanish and English. So that's precisely what we know.
So gunmen ran up into his area, his home, and shot him dead and injured his wife. And now they're saying that some of these gunmen spoke Spanish, some of them spoke English. You understand? Some of them spoke different languages. They weren't sure who these gunmen were. They weren't sure what happened out there. But what should be known is this, that, okay, first of all, let me say this. There's beefs on all the sides. There's beefs on all the sides about what he was doing, what he was wrong at. A lot of people thought he was wrong about a lot of the stuff that he's doing. And of course, they expressed their anger over it. They said that he was taking over, that there wasn't fair elections. And then, of course, the other side is saying that, he was right, he was good, he was, having fair elections. And, of course, it's all creating a big mess between both sides. You got two political sides, both shooting it out with one another in the city, all over the city, mainly in the capital. People running out of their homes. Whole neighborhoods being burnt down, different leaders being blamed for all the killing, all the murdering that's been going on. But the reality is simply this, is that what we keep missing is that the power that we have from Yahweh on how to really resolve all our problems and conflicts with these other nations. The whole reason that these two groups are fighting, the whole reason this brother was assassinated, and the whole reason that brothers and sisters is fighting and killing in the street, and it's a horrible situation now. the brothers and sisters in Haiti. And we have been hearing about these groups for a while, these different gangs and groups, and the shooting and going on back and forth. But now, of course, it exploded on the world scene because he was assassinated. So the point is this. Everybody's thinking about who's right and wrong, when what you keep missing is that Esau is in the middle of it. That this is a common thing that went on with the Roman Empire. The Romans always did this. They always went into different territories, had different political views in those territories. And those different political views kept them battling one another. They mounted themselves up with armed men on all sides, fighting barbarians, fighting different groups, fighting different factions. This has always been their tool, man. Their tool has always been to create chaos between two different groups. And as a result, they kill off themselves while they remain rich. Haiti, man, is so sad what's going on in Haiti. Because once again, Haiti is the only country in the Western Hemisphere that completely got free from revolution. They're the only ones that armed themselves and stopped the Edomites who were invading their countries. And them Edomites have been hating it ever since. Them Edomites are furious at the fact that they escaped the Edomites' power and possession and, you know, got away and set up their own country. Once again, if you want to teach critical race theory, what you should be teaching black people, not the enemy who doesn't want to hear about it. You should be teaching God's children, the 12 tribes of Israel, about their history in Haiti. The Levites are our brothers. Those brothers and sisters in Haiti are the descendants of the tribe of Levi written of in the Bible. Those were the priests, believe it or not. It seems impossible thousands of years later. But according to the biblical prophecy, starting with Genesis, the 49th chapter, those brothers and sisters that you see with those guns in those streets and living in those shacks that you see right now, them brothers and sisters, those are the tribe of Levi, man. And it is why they have been so reluctant to be put under oppression, why they were able to be the first to break free from oppression. A lot of it goes back to their history as Levites. It was the Levites' job to go forward into battle. It was the Levites' job to bring, order to the brotherhood. It was the Levites' job to make sure we understood the laws, statutes, and commandments for a time. For a time, that was their job, okay, until Christ came and the priestly order was set up. And now they still have that same spirit, but instead went into the left-hand side with the voodoo, went into the left-hand side with joining political parties, went into the left-hand side with killing one another for gain. They so poor, they so horribly poor, that it's very, very difficult for them to resist the guile of Esau. And you have different Edomite factions, and this is, once again, this is worldwide. You have Edomite factions that come together, and what do they do when they come together? They come together and they create battles between two different halves of another empire. Because, of course, you have one group over here, which could be anybody. Could be the Americans, could be the French, could be the Russians, could be anybody. And then you have a set of Edomites on another side. And both of them are backing their political appointees and their different political groups who have to actually fight for power, you understand, being backed by these other groups. The Haitians don't make AK-47s and machine guns. You understand, as poor as that country is, you'd be surprised to see that they actually have weapons. I'm shocked that they actually have weapons. They king of that machete. But the fact that they actually have guns and weapons and all of that tells you that these groups are being backed by different groups of Edomites who want to see them go to battle because, of course, the winner takes all, which is the resources of Haiti, which is the manpower, which is the slavery, which is the resources that they could dig up that we probably have no idea. The resources that are down there. I can guarantee you that there is plenty and plenty of riches and resources down in Haiti that nobody knows about, or very few people know about. I can guarantee you that it's down there. And because of it, they got to turn one against another so that they could kill them off and eat up all the resources that's down there, while the people live in utter poverty. And of course, the hungry want to fight to not be, starved to death by the other side. So they get into the conflict and get into the battle. Let me read the scripture right quick. Hold on one second. Let me pull this scripture out. Check out what the Most High said. And once again, boy, oh boy, the wisdom of the Most High is so deep that we don't believe that it could help us at all. We don't believe it when what's in the Bible and the wisdom of the Bible could resolve the entire issue for Haiti. The only problem is, in resolving that issue, you're going to have to cast out the other nations. But check out what the Lord said. This is Psalms 10:3. And the Lord said this: for the wicked boasted of his heart's desire. He boasted of his heart's desire, which is to rule the world, which is to bring every nation into captivity, which is to be the master of this planet. Here's what it says: and blesses the covetous. He blesses the covetous. Like, he wants men who want to covet everything in Haiti for themselves. Those are the kind of men that Esau backs. He don't back a man that want to keep the resources for the people that's in there. He wants to back a man who will steal all the resources so he can get a big portion for himself and give the rest of those resources to Esau. They do this around the world. This goes back to the days of the Roman Empire. And that's all that you see going on here. Like, all these brothers and sisters are dying because, two factions of Edomites have to get all the resources and have to find men that's willing to kill each other over the resources and power so that all the wealth and power can go to Esau and not to the people who, you see some of the footage out that's down there. It's insane. The hell and poverty that the brothers and sisters is living in out of there. And then on top of it, now they got to war with each other in broken down houses, man. In walking through streets with utter poverty and destruction. And once again, after it's all over and said and done, and one group emerges in power, then all those same resources that have been being robbed from these brothers and sisters will just go again to whichever faction of Edomites army did the most damage. Like, whichever factions of army did the most damage, they'll get all the resources. Like, this man, he loves a covetous man. He loves a man that will covet. Imagine if those brothers had begun to be educated in the spirit of putting their brothers and sisters first, and not willing to take the lives of their brothers and sisters so that Esau, could gain control and power over them. If them brothers and sisters were able to do that, then you know what? Then Esau would be the one they'd be resisting, and they'd be feeding everybody. They'd be resourcing everybody, and not just Esau, but any other nations. You don't know who's behind that. It could be the Chinese. It could be anybody on the planet. It could be other Latin American countries, as they're trying to suggest. They're trying to suggest that some of them are Latin American countries and so forth. It could be anybody. What you do know, though, according to the scriptures, though, is that it's somebody who's looking for covetous men that will go and murder and kill each other for power, thinking they have to protect each other, when really at the top, it's just gain. It's just gain. And as a nation, we have to gain together, man. Okay, let me read a little bit more. Here's what it says: whom the Lord abhorreth. The Lord abhorreth a man that's covetous. He abhorred that type of man. He abhors a man that won't care for the people of the Most High, that won't care for the sheep and for the flock. And brother, that is what is happening now down there. Like, brothers that care for certain portions now are turning against each other, when what they should be doing is trying to find a way to bridge the gap between each other and get Esau out of their business. He's the one that's pushing for all of this. Okay? You couldn't have gone up in there into them areas and assassinate a head of state without Esau's sanctioning, man. Because let's face it, Esau, there are Edomites who are making billions out of there. So you go assassinate the head of state, that means you are messing with their billions of dollars. Billions of dollars that should be going to the people of Haiti. Instead, they're going to great, powerful Edomite and other nations' interests. So you couldn't go in there and do that unless you were backed by that kind of force. And if you're backed by that kind of force, then you can do some harm. Then you can do some damage. And again, it's painful and shameful that it has to go down that way. Check it out. Here's what the Lord said. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after the Most High. Yahweh is not in all his thoughts. The Lord ain't in his thoughts. What's in his thoughts is greed, man. What's in his thoughts is him benefiting off of the death and destruction of these brothers and sisters, man. There's no reason for Haiti, living in a hemisphere with rich Caribbean islands, living in a hemisphere with wealthy islands, and millions and billionaires living down there in that living short miles away. Powerful governments, all of Central and South America at their disposal, down in them empires. And yet, down in that empire, down in this country, look at the poverty. Look at the poverty. The people living in shanty towns, I mean, houses built out of aluminum, and they still burning what little they have down in a conflict created by Esau, which he does all the time. This is not nothing new. He does this all the time. This is like a dance for him. You understand? And sadly, our people are caught in the midst of it, and we do all the dirty work. We do all the dirty work that gets him where he wants to be. Okay? We instead do that dirty work. Okay? But I'll tell you, here's one of the good things, if you could call it good. But here's one of the things that those that know the truth and understand the Most High can be rest assured and can feel good about. And what that is that these signs show us that we're at the end. And it shows us how important it is that we get the Lord's business done, because it is so at that crossroad. We're at that crossroad where the Lord's business needs to get done so that our people can come and emerge up out of this earth. I know it don't seem like it, but if you examine these scriptures, it is the solution for every problem that we have. Let me read a little bit more. Get 2 Timothy 3:1. Check this out. This is what the Lord said. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. That's where we at now. Once again, this guarantees us we at the last days. This is our last birthing pains before Christ returns and takes over all these empires. These are the last birthing pains. More chaos has to go on. More death and destruction has to go on. More plagues like the coronavirus and others have to come on. All these things, but at least they starting, because that means it's an end. It's just like a woman being pregnant. She don't want to go into labor. She knows that when that time comes and she goes into labor, she's going to be in a lot of pain. She knows she's going to be in a lot of pain. She doesn't want that to happen. But she knows at the end of that, she's going to have a beautiful baby. She's going to have brand new life into the world. Well, that's the life you live in, black man, black woman, Latino man, Native Indian man and woman. That's the life you live in. And you need to know that at the end of this, you're going to emerge with a new life, with a new king, which is Yahweh. And you're going to sit on the top of the world. And you're going to be in great power. And punishment will come to all those that have done this evil. Let me just get a little bit more of this, all right? Here's what it says. Second verse. For men, 2 Timothy 3:2, for men shall be lovers of their own selves. That's it. Covetous. And that's how you get a man to go against the laws, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High. You do it the way Esau do it. You do it by placating to their desires. And that's the whole point of Esau putting you in slavery. How did he get you to follow everything that he said? And the other nations as well. By making you hungry enough that he could bribe you against your own. That he could get you to turn against your own. And that's how he was able to get you to become an enemy to your own and create a conflict with each other. Like, those is brothers and brother family, cousins, friends. Haiti ain't that big a country, brother. You understand? They know each other all over that country. And they fighting and killing each other, family members, friends, all of that. Because Esau is sitting over that power. Where's the agriculture all going? Where's the production of things going? Why haven't the lines of trade been opened up with other nations, man? All around the world, with this entire world going on, you telling me these brothers and sisters can't get no open trade? That's because somebody is eating deliciously off of Haiti and or punishing them for getting free from this beast, man. And you don't get nowhere unless you take on that spirit of Christ and bring that brotherhood and sisterhood together on a level like that. That's how that strategy goes, man. And then you can start to begin to build in the right spirit, which is going to happen. It's going to happen after a while. The Lord had to let us see just how much we were wrong for not following these laws, statutes, and commandments. Here's what he said. Boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. That's what he raises up, man. That's the kind of people he raises up on both sides. This ain't no one-sided thing. He does it on both sides because this is how he's able to conquer, man. This is how he's able to, bring in the evil that he needs to bring in, which allows him to rule. It keeps him ruling while everybody else starves to death. And it's being done to blacks and Latinos right now. Like, your preachers in the church are doing the same thing that's going on in Haiti on a lower level. Your politicians, all your black politicians whom you love so much, who nobody wants to speak against. Nobody wants to talk about this. Everybody wants to lie to themselves and act like good times are ahead. But I got bad news for you. Much of what you see going on in Haiti, a lot of it you're going to see in this empire as well. You're going to see a lot of this discord, a lot of this conflict, a lot of this disgruntledness, a lot of war breaking out in this earth, man. Look at the horrors these brothers and sisters is living under. Horrors that they should not have to live under unless they're fighting for themselves. Instead, they battling against each other for power that doesn't belong to neither one of them. The power that's really in the hands of Esau. And it goes on all over the world, man. And it's a sad state of affairs for what we are made of. We are the chosen people of the Lord, and look at the life that we sitting up under and stuck under. Which is why in the brotherhood of truth, in the I.S.U.P.K, we can't turn on our brothers, man. We work with our brothers out to the end. We sacrifice for our brothers. And when you in an environment like this environment that they have us in over there in Haiti, our brothers in Haiti suffering, when you in that type of environment, let me tell you something. You desperately need brotherhood. You need brotherhood. You got to be able to look past what you are experiencing every day. You got to look past it, man, to try to bring together the brotherhood. Otherwise, covetous men will use you to fight against each other. Covetous men will use you to become covetous yourself, to turn you against your own brothers, man. It might mean you got to take low, like Paul said, in certain situations. Certain situations you may have to take low for the benefit of every brother and sister. And when them things happen, you got to step in there and be able to do that for the benefit of this nation. Otherwise, you end up like this. You end up being used by all sides to destroy yourself, man, which is shameful, man. It's sad. It's sad for so many years what we've been going through, man, as a people down there. This always was the strategy of the Romans. Let me explain to you something. Here's how it went in the Roman Empire. The Romans had all these. This is how the Roman Empire fell also, by the way. The Roman Empire had tons and tons of enemies because they had gone around the world, conquered everybody in the world, murdered and plundered all over the world, just like the empires did today, murdered and plundered all over the earth. And after they had murdered and plundered and built them the greatest empire in the world, then of course they was looking for peace. And they was trying to use peace as a means to get everybody to love them, to respect them, to work together with them. But they had already robbed and starved every nation on earth, which is once again why the Most High said he divided to every nation a land. You understand? Like the idea of the Tower of Babel does not come from the Most High. The Most High did not create the mindset of the Tower of Babel. What you living in today in America, that's the Tower of Babel. This is the reincarnation of of Babylon, meaning the philosophy of ancient Babylon from the days of Nimrod has always been to bring all the nations together, all their resources together. And in bringing them nations and their resources together, they would rise to power and eventually overthrow the Most High. It has always been a Roman thing. It has always been a thing of their empire. The Babylonians did it. The Egyptians did it. The Greeks did it. Many, many people tried to do it, and it never failed. They built the Persians and the Medes did it, which you know today is the Arabs, the Iraqians, and so forth. Arabia did it. Every nation has done it. They tried to set up their empire, expand their empire from the one end of the earth to the other end of the earth, conquer all nations, steal all resources, impoverish nations all over the world. Then what happens, of course, is all those nations rise up against that empire. And that empire now, it becomes too big to maintain itself, too big to battle all these enemies. And so as a result, all those nations whom they starved to death for so long, those nations start coming up against them. And they start fighting back with them. And that's exactly what happened in the Roman Empire. All the so-called barbarians from around the world started to battle against the Roman Empire, started to harass the Roman Empire, started to bring down the Roman Empire. And eventually they first tore down the west of the Roman Empire and tried to negotiate. Then eventually they went to war with the Eastern Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire. This is how it happened. And this is exactly what you see going on today, both in Haiti and around the world. They're using the same stupid strategy that they used back then to conquer the world. The empire now is too big. It's too big and it starved so many people. And then here's what the solution was. The solution was to bring in these different nations to give them a piece of the empire while still keeping them up under Rome. So they imported these people. They sort of immigrated these people all into the Roman Empire. And so these groups were in the Roman Empire with their own religions, their own ideas of life, their own cultures, their own people. And they were living inside the Roman Empire and raising hell inside the Roman Empire, creating more conflict, creating more problems in the Roman Empire. And so, of course, war broke out inside the empire. And let me tell you something. Let me hit you with a biblical prophecy that you may not know. That's what you're about to see in this empire. You saw a little bit of it last month in New York City when the Palestinians and Israelis were battling each other over there in Israel. What came shortly after that, it were battles on the streets around this country and in New York City. What you about to see is what happened in Rome. You about to see tons and tons of people battling each other, but carrying it out in the empire. In other words, they're fighting somewhere else in the world, but their people are living in the empire. And then because their people are living in the empire, their people start to lose the brainwashing of the empire and then begin to battle one another in the empire. And that was what helped bring Rome down. And and it's going to affect every empire on this earth because it belongs to Christ. And they must be brought back to Christ. Let me get you a scripture on it. Hold on one second. Check out Daniel 8:25. Here's what the Lord said. And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. Meaning the craft he's talking about is so-called, is his witchcraft, his lies. His lies is what make him prosper in his hand. His deals that he goes and breaks. Like the Gadite said, white man speak with forked tongue. Yeah, he's a deal breaker. He made tons of deals with the so-called native Indians. Broke every last treaty, every last deal he ever made with them. And any few ones still around, if there are any, which I don't believe there are, you understand, in modern times, he probably broke those as well. And so he used that craft, he used that subtlety, that guile, them lies, to get those nations to get up under him and to put down their weapons and join him and all of that. And as a result of it, he prospered with that craft. But eventually he'll fall. And once again, he prospered with that craft with you too. That's why so many of you so-called Negroes are Baptists in the church, because they were lynching you as Baptists as one way, and then of course lied to you and tried to and got you to believe in these religions of today's society. Not just them, the Arabs did the same thing. I hate to break it to you. The Arabs did the same thing. And so did so many other religions and gods. The so-called white man claiming to be a Jew, he did the same thing. And that craft, that witchcraft worked on you. But now you in the time where you're supposed to wake up and come up out of that and stop being fooled by that craft, being fooled by that witchcraft that's making you join the man that's been killing you for 500 years. But that's what happened in the Roman Empire. Let me finish this scripture right quick. It says this: and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. He got boasted and puffed up. That's why they mad right now at the Capitol. Why are they so mad at the Capitol? Why did they go raid the Capitol? Why are they so angry? They just brought it out. They just had a protest in Philadelphia. The Klan came marching through Philadelphia just a short while ago. And that Klan came through marching in Philadelphia, and black people rose up and went berserk. And what did I say? Did I not say to you that this would happen? Like, they couldn't burn down the Capitol. They raided the Capitol and got stopped. And now the Democrats are fully aware. The FBI, everybody's on alert at what actually could happen. So now everybody is, of course, paying attention. So these groups, these militia groups, these white supremacist groups, these horrible, horrible groups that hate and have hated black people and wanted to see Donald Trump restore the white supremacist empire that he set out to restore, now they have nobody else to turn to. They can't overthrow the government now. Government's awake. So who do they turn to? They want to march on us. They want to march on blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians. Now they want to take their vengeance out on them. People that's been poor and under them and loving them for so long. The witchcraft of the church is what made you such a victim. You became so unaware and so unable to help yourself because of that church. It then brainwashed you to join this beast instead of serving the Most High with his laws, statutes, and commandments, and doing what he said to do, and repairing your people, and having a heart for your brothers and sisters, which is, of course, what is the problem in Haiti. The problem in Haiti is that they were able to divide brothers and sisters for their gain, and it should have unified us. Our poverty should unify us, man. Our poverty shouldn't divide us. Our poverty should make us love one another. Our poverty should say, man, we in this together. We've got to help one another. Our poverty should be to bring our tribes together and help. You know how much wealth is in the black and Latino community, the West Indian community, in the islands all across this country? You know how much wealth is in there? You know how much wealth is down there, man? These brothers and sisters should not be going through this. You understand? But they're going through this because of the political powers that sit over the top of them, man. Like, look at that. Look at that. Wait a minute. Go back to that for a second. Look at that place. Look at that place. You understand? Right here in the Western Hemisphere, where there are billionaires living in Caribbean islands, living in mansions, where there are rich and wealthy black people and Latino people all throughout North, Central, and South America. But there's no brotherhood. There's no identity, which is why the Lord called us to come to bring this to you. The Lord called us to wake you up that these 12 tribes, man, have to be awoken so that they can repair what needs to be repaired, which is the Lord's 12 tribes, and so that they could end the captivity of the 12 tribes. And here's how you're supposed to be looking at it. If the brothers and sisters in Haiti are suffering like this, then guess what? You and I are suffering like this. One portion of our family is suffering like this. One portion of our family is devastated so that some rich empire, some rich somebody somewhere could prosper off of the backs of us. So that they could prosper off of the backs of us. These brothers and sisters got to live in pretty much, you know, be among the rocks and the rubbles. When this should not be, man. This is punishment is going to come. And our real mission. And wait a minute, where's all the black churches at? All the wealth and power in black churches, even American Haitian churches. You got some absolutely wealthy Haitian churches in the United States. Why can't they help? They can't break through either. They can barely break through to change the situation. They can barely break through to try and fix this situation. Why? Because there's a man ruling over you whom you refuse to look in the eye and see that the only way for this to get fixed is to go back to the Lord's statutes and commandments of the Most High, serve the Most High, put down the other gods, and watch the Most High move on this earth to change the God of this earth. Here's what the Lord said. Check this out. Get 2 Chronicles 6:24. Solomon made the deal for us with the Most High. He already made the deal. Okay? And what he said, the Lord stands on. Here's what he said. He said, 2 Chronicles 6:24, and if thy people Israel be put to the worse before the enemy, if thy people be put to the worse, okay, before the enemy, which we know that's exactly what's been happening with us. If we put to the worst before the enemy, here's what the Lord said. Oh, my bad. Let me get back to me. Here's what the Most High said. Because they have sinned against thee, and shall return and confess thy name, and pray and make supplication before thee in this house. 25th verse. Then hear thou from the heavens, and forgive the sins of thy people Israel, and bring them again onto the land which thou gavest to them and to their fathers, man. When the heavens is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against thee, yet if they pray towards this place, and confess thy name, and return from their sin, when thou dost afflict them, then hear thou from heaven, and forgive the sin of thy servants and of thy people, when thou hast taught them the good way wherein they should walk, and send rain upon thy land, which thou hast given unto the people for an inheritance. And let me tell you something, man. You can't deny that all of our suffering of the 12 tribes under these other nations is because we turned against the Lord when we should not have. When we should have stuck with the Most High, when we should have done the things the Lord told us to do, instead we turned against the Most High. And that's what helped bring us down to the point that we at right now, but again, we at the end. And the Romans now have expanded their kingdom beyond measure and is creating these conflicts that's going on, which means we soon to come to the end. Let me get one more for you if I could. Here's what the Lord said. Habakkuk 2:5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. He don't keep at home. He'll go and join and overthrow your empire. This is not what heathens do, man. They'll overthrow your empire, enslave your people, eat all the resources up. You don't believe me? Go look at what's going on in the so-called Hawaiian Islands back in the 40s and 30s, man, when they were taking over all that pineapple industry, Dole pineapple and all them parts of their empire. Go back and look at all the other parts of the empire, man, that's Central and South America, and how they took over these 12 tribes. Go all the way back to the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria with Christopher Columbus and the rest of them. This is what they do. And the only thing that comes against that is the service to the Most High. That's the only thing that comes against that. Like I just read when Solomon said to the Lord, if they return unto you and they put down that sin and have mercy on them, man, and he will. He did that with us in Egypt. He did that with us under many captivities, and he did it. He's going to do it again with Christ in this captivity. But this time, brother, is going to be an entrance like you've never seen before. Let me read some more. Okay. He's a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell. He keeps enlarging his empire. He'll starve you for 1,000 years and he'll never think twice about it. He enlargeth his empire as hell, his desire as hell. And we foolishly listen to the witchcraft that I brought up earlier. He shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. He's going to cause those lies and that deceiving to prosper in his hand. And it is what turns brothers against brothers, man. The brotherhood of Christ is the most important brotherhood on the planet. That brotherhood can conquer everything. Okay? It helped bring down everything in this earth and will again. Here's what it says. Okay? And is as death and cannot be satisfied. That's right. A demon can't be satisfied. You could serve them for 1 billion years. You'll never satisfy. There'll never come a day where they say, you know what? We're going to give y'all a piece of the empire, man. You've been serving us 1,000 years. We're going to give you a piece of the empire, man, and y'all go ahead and prosper and live good and come up in the earth. That'll never happen, which is why the Lord, and listen, and the Lord made them heathens that way. He made them that way so you would return to the Lord, because leave it to us. We would just serve these heathens forever. Leave it to us. That's why the Lord asked that question. Are you a homeborn slave? Because if you leave it to us, we'll serve the heathens forever and never apart from them. We'll hate anybody who does depart from them. But Christ is returning for you to depart. Christ is returning to put every nation in his land, man, so that every nation can be where he's supposed to be and they can serve Christ's kingdom. Just think about all the wealth and being brought into Christ's kingdom, and then think about everybody paying tithes forever. How do you get that? How do you get that? You get that by changing what's inside your heart, changing how you think, how you operate, what you do with your brother, with your sister, with your family, with your people. That's how you do that. You make moral choices, man, according to the scriptures, to not sell weed to your brother, even though you struggling. Many interviews I've seen on YouTube, television, where they interview some drug dealer who say, well, I had to feed my family. Biggie Smalls put it in a song. Well, would you expect me to do? I wasn't going to sit there and starve. But you starved somebody else by destroying them, which helped destroy you, which helped that stigma of black people on top of you. Even if you make billions, look, there's pro athletes, actors, all being treated like hell from this heathen because of the actions of our people who turned against the Most High. So while you think you prospering because you doing something against the Most High that's putting money in your pocket, that's helping the heathen, when in essence you're not, because you're destroying your whole people and you will never be a part of their empire. That's the mistake Martin Luther King made. That's the mistake he thought about. He thought he could be a part of their empire by doing what it is that he was doing. He thought by doing that, you understand, he could be a part of that empire. You can't be a part of that empire that way, man. You'll never be a part of that empire by turning on your own. The Lord will see to it. It will bring you down. Look at the life our brothers and sisters living. Look at this life. I mean, just to be sitting on the ground in the middle of an alley of shanty towns and stuff is just absolute hell. And our brotherhood can break that. Our brotherhood could feed that sister and bring her life back from the pit of hell. Our brotherhood and sisterhood, we can do that. We can get that done, man. Okay, let me get a little bit more on Habakkuk. Here's what the Lord said. And cannot be satisfied. You can't satisfy a demon. A demon wants to kill you no matter how he comes. He wants you to die. And so what does he do? He goes out and teaches every way for you to die. Every way for you to hate yourself, to get you, make you a drug addict, make you a criminal, make you go to prison. That's why they call it the prison pipeline. All those things were designed by demons inside people who hated you and yours. And if you turn back to the Father, he'll bring this whole place down around you. That power exists, but he won't use that power for you to be evil. He'll use that power to get you right. Let me get some more. He said, as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations. Check it out, Habakkuk 2:5. And heapeth unto him all people. This is not the program of the Most High. It's the program, man, of Genesis, the 10th chapter, the Tower of Babel, the work of Satan. Okay. 6th verse. Shall not all these take up a parable against them and a taunting proverb against them? This is what happened in the Roman Empire. They started to taunt him and battle him and fight him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. Right. He increased what wasn't his. He increased the entire empire of what wasn't his. And now the empire is going to implode on itself all over this planet so that Christ's kingdom could be brought in. That which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, meaning he build himself up with thick clay. He build amazing cities, man. Prospers in power. You see him, it's like, whoa, this cat is amazing with the power and the wealth and the strength that he have and the armies that he has. But here's what the Most High said. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee? All the nations going to rise up and it's going to be hell on earth. And awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them. That's exactly what happened in the Roman Empire. That's exactly how it got brought down. And they followed the same pattern. And then there were minor things that went on as well. They devalued the currency and took away the gold and silver that the currency was under, and did exactly like they did here. Switched it to a different currency, type of currency. Now it's what they call a petrocurrency, is based on the oil. All of that helped bring the place down, but mainly the conquering of the other nations and utterly enslaving them until they decided to stand up and return. And that's what's going to happen all over the earth around you. Thanks be to the Lord. You don't have to be a part of that. You can be something different. You can be the ones that Christ said you gave a drink to. You gave something to eat to. How do you do that? We go help build the 12 tribes of Israel. We go stand up and be real shepherds, man. A shepherd has to watch over and protect the flock. He got to protect the sheep. We can come together and do that, and we will do it. Here's what the Lord said. 8th verse. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, and that's what's happened to Haiti. Haiti was in slavery, fought to get free, and been struggling to stay free ever since. And been battling and battling and battling on both sides because Esau refused to get up off of their neck. Okay? All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. They're going to do it too. Because of men's blood and for the violence of the land and of the city and of all that dwell therein. Meaning they're going to destroy these empires, man, because of all the things and the horrors that has happened to them all over this kingdom, man. Hey, man, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you standing in with us, man. Hit the like button, subscribe, join us at blackwatch.news. We do it up, man, 3 times a week. I'll see y'all next time. Shalom.